Let's know every day is Earth Day, learning from the language of nature. It's 3:23 in the morning, and I'm awake because my great-great-grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great-great-grandchildren ask me in dreams, what did you do when the earth was unraveling? What did you do once you knew? So guys, it's Earth Day. I'm Sunny Chayes, and we have an amazing show for you today because we are going to get to the answer of that. And the guest that I have on today is the amazing and incredible Dr. Sue MORTER. And before we bring her on, I want to read to you the answer that she gave to me when I was writing this article for the Whole Life Times. This was extremely, extremely important to me to be able to kind of weigh in this particular issue because, as you guys know, the environment's my thing. And I took it very personally and felt so the responsibility, kind of the weight of the responsibility of doing this. And I interviewed a lot of people, as I called the not-so-usual eco-voice suspects. And I kept up the interview or the article because I had to get to Dr. Sue MORTER. And the editor was saying, Dr. Sue in the environment? Like, wait, what? Huh? And I said, just wait. I know she's going to bring something that is so amazing. And so I want to read to you this before we bring her on because I love this so much. After I read to her, all I did was read to her a little bit about what I was saying. And this is what she said. This is her answer. I asked her to speak to our great-great-grandchildren, and this is her answer. When we knew, we were among those to turn it around. We felt the tug on our hearts. We realized that it was time to learn from inspiration instead of through pain. We began to feel a different way. We felt the subtle cues and recognized that to protect nature, we needed to connect to our full potential. We had to access our own self to create harmony within so that we could create it in our outer world. We found a way to tether our minds to heart-meaningful wisdom. Ooh. We found ways to make grounding, caring choices so that everyone and everything wins. Yeah, amen to that. We began to act like nature acts, collaborative and cooperative. We felt into the sense of the ways that are complementary to that end. We awakened to the knowing that it's the soul that saves the planet. It was our souls integrating back together that brought forward a higher functioning human. We started operating like the high-level steward we became. So, my great-great-grandchildren, you are the amazing, loving, and creative beings you are because of those who came before you. The glorious Mother Earth is so alive because of these awakenings we experienced in time. You are so astute in continuing to speak the language of nature, that you are indeed experiencing in your lifetime the heaven on earth that was always meant to be. I almost got through it without crying. So let's just bring on Dr. Sue MORTER, shall we? Oh, thank you for that, Dr. Sue. So just speak, please. Your
what
turn.
A delight. You know, what a beautiful thing when we can come together and speak about such deep and meaningful topics and begin to really materialize what matters most. It's my great pleasure to be here, Sunny. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Thank you. Well, as many of you guys know, after the election about a year and a half ago, I came in after the inauguration and I just didn't think I could go on. There were some things that happened on the news and I was just crying and I was so upset. And that was when I first met Dr. Sue and she was scheduled for that day, thank God. And she said, I just asked her, please help me get through this show. And that's the one we did with the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Adina Lekovich. So it was a phenomenal conversation. And many people have referred back to that show when they're, because of course things are getting, as we used to say, cattywampus. I'll just use that word. So I thought that's why I said I know that Sue will bring something magnificent that we can handle for the show. So I want to just let you chat a little bit more about the great-great-grandchildren because I couldn't get it all in. But
Yeah.
yes, please.
Well, the beauty about your article is that it's speaking from a place of that really hits us in our hearts, right? It's our great-great-grandchildren, and how are we behaving today in a manner that is going to allow them and a lot for them the same privileges that we had as children, knowing the earth that we knew many years ago. And we've certainly seen a lot of things transform and change in our lifetime, and it's a beautiful opportunity for us to awaken to our full potential when we are charged with the idea of, okay, how do we change our behaviors? How do we change our beliefs strongly enough to care, to deeply stop in our tracks and consciously care about things that we didn't have to consciously care about before because it was a way of being. We took better care of the planet then. And so as a way of being, we've cultivated a whole new disposition. And it's time for us to take a time out and really recap on our values and what truly matters most. So I love the way that you set up the article and the question that you asked me, in that, okay, we're already in the future and we're speaking to these young souls, and they're offering up their earnest and innocent inquiry. And what it does is allows us the opportunity to reflect back on, how did I behave yesterday that is creating the planet that I would love for my great-great-grandchildren to be able to explore and evolve upon the face of.
Ooh, yes, thank you. And as you know, I chatted with Kenny Loggins, and again, a lot of people don't think of him as an environmentalist, but he really, really is. And in the article, one of the things that he said, which I'd love for you to sort of chat about, is his idea that this is kind of a matter, it's sort of a crisis of consciousness. It's a crisis of spiritual consciousness. He sort of coined that term, which I really like. But so what do you think to that?
Every crisis births an evolution, right? And that's the default way that we awaken. And the point that I was hoping to bring into the mix of the conversation was that we do not have to continue to create a crisis for ourselves in order to create the impetus for change. And if it is already upon us, because we haven't already learned how to grow and evolve through grace and conscious choice, then we can take on the crisis that we are experiencing consciously. And in doing so, we evolve. So I think that it's a beautiful phrase and a beautiful term, a beautiful disposition to come from, that I feel that what we are facing with our planet at this time is the same thing that we are facing with our own health. If you look at the Mother Earth as the body upon which we are all existing, and the equivalent to that for us individually is our own physicality, and our own physical body, and our own physical well-being and wholeness, and how we operate in the presence of our own consciousness, how we pull ourselves together in such a fashion is reflected on the face of our activity on the earth. So what we are faced with right now is an opportunity to evolve. And when the pain point comes from the outer world, that the air is not pure, or that the animals are suffering as they are, that nature is in what appears to be a crisis because of the choices that humanity has made, it is a reflection back inwardly upon the individual and how we have also selected ways of being that are externally oriented, that are not centered on the heart and on deep wisdom. And those are the frequencies that Mother Earth operates on. The alpha frequency of Earth, of Mother Earth herself, offers up the perfect vibrational energy that healing and rejuvenation and replenishment and restoration and birth can happen naturally. And when we start to drive our lives into different frequencies than that are pushing the river, or that are trying to outrun the things that we have already created, what happens is we create an environment that does not allow for those things naturally. It doesn't allow for the natural restoration cellularly in our own bodies. It doesn't allow for natural healing. And so if we've operated or orchestrated a way of being that operates like that, then it is no wonder that we are making choices for the planet that are a reflection of the same. So the crisis that we're in, I think, offers us the perfect stimulation to activate us to a higher level of consciousness. So nature is still taking care of herself. It is at the risk of humanity's existence that we undertake these new projects that we're in. For instance, let me say this: Mother Earth could burp and humanity would disappear. That's how big she is. Okay.
Yes.
So our opportunity is to learn how to collaborate with nature. Because we don't have to save the planet. We have to save humanity's ability to survive on the planet.
Amen.
The planet is going to be fine. She has survived many other civilizations, blowing things up and not particularly living in congruence with nature as well. So we are faced with an opportunity to grow in this crisis.
Ooh, and again, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you so much, because again, even writing this, and it was sort of at first, often when people talk about saving the planet, or I'm going to save the whales and all of that, and it's like moving to this place of collaboration and cooperation, and not sort of bombast, arrogance about our position. Because again, I love that you said that literally a sneeze, a hiccup, and we're gone. So it's like, okay, let's have the humility and the gratitude and the grace, shall we? Shall we kind of play with that? And one thing that I'd love to let all you guys know is this. Dr. Sue's so special with so many things. And when you're talking about this, one of the things that I learned from you, many people talk about, the New Thought leaders and people writing books and all those sort of things. They talk about going into places, and this feels like a little bit of a change of the subject, but I just really want to talk about this because I feel it. Putting a bubble around us, or protecting ourselves from the other people, the energy if we go into a big group or a big, event or something. And one time you spoke, and I thought it was the most brilliant thing I've ever heard in my life, and the most made me just break into tears, because you were saying another way to look at that is that we raise ourselves up. We, our energy, our vibration, are all the terms that we want to use, cleaning our chakras, just any of all that stuff. And we are in such a place of vibration that not only do we not have to protect ourselves, we are also elevating all around the room, possibly or not. But I just thought that was so incredible, because it's such a shift of that, and it's so inclusive, as opposed to, well, I'm going to protect myself from the people. So I just wanted you to jump into that for a sec.
Sure. And it isn't really a shift of topic, because it is by our true nature to be in a state of praise and of celebration, because all of creation is built on the vibrational frequencies of praise and celebration. And so if we're participating in that radio station, if you will, then we are collaborating with nature. We're not setting ourselves separate from. When we take on the idea that I need to protect myself from you, then we're automatically assuming that we are a separate self. We're creating a separation. And if we continue to do that, we become isolated, we become weakened, we do not get to glean from the energies of the heavens, of these high frequency energies of other dimensions, and the reality that quantum science is truly showing us exist, and that it's time for us to tap them and stop isolating ourselves from this abundant flow of resource that's constantly available to us. We also separate ourselves off from the beautiful, nurturing quality of Mother Earth that has the ability to decrease our anxiety and ground us and bring us into a state of loving presence. There are so many health benefits to just earthing, to being connected to the Mother Earth, that affect our nervous system and our cardiovascular system and our hormonal system and our electromagnetic energy flow. Everything changes. Liquid crystals in our own system begin to align and conduct information and connectivity. If we're connected to the earth, just by walking barefoot on her soil brings us to this type of an evolution, of a healing, of a transformation. And so when we talk about separating ourselves for protection, it's a short-term fix that does not solve anything in the long run. In fact, the patients that I work with, the clients that I teach as well, are all recognizing that connectivity is the solution, not isolation, separation, rejection, or removal from any given situation. Short of an abusive, toxic environment, there really is no need to move away from. Rather, what I suggest everyone do is recognize that you're made of love, and you are here to light up with consciousness that loving vibration that you are made of. And as you do, you become a blazing bonfire. And we know that anytime you put something on a bonfire, that like a log on the fire blazes bigger and the log burns to ash, ashes to ashes, burns itself, purifies itself down to something that can be used again and recycled in some way. And so if we take that same principle of the basic element of fire and recognize that consciousness, high frequency energy of spirit hitting form creates a friction that is the same transmuting quality of fire. So when we love into something, we transmute it, we burn it up. So we are what allows energy to move from one frequency to another because of our free will capacity to choose love instead of isolation, separation, survivorship. We can step into creatorship and transformative capacity just by choosing love. So when you love into anything, you change it. How willing are you? How willing are you to love into the very thing that you would rather get away from? If you really want to experience the wholeness of your being, you have to choose to lead with love.
So, guys, I realize that I like to tell you a little bit about Dr. Sue, because I went right into a poem and I didn't really edify her, but I just want the few of you out there who may not know who she is. She is a doctor. She was, she is at this point healing, coaching, teaching, inspiring thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who then affect so many people. There are TED Talks that we will be talking about, products that you can be doing. She leads people all around the world in the most exquisite workshops or just kind of happenings, I'll call them, which I've been able to participate in, and they are just sort of mind-blowing and life-changing and super fun. Dr. Sue's like the funnest, I'm just going to tell you. And she's having a book coming out pretty soon, so we'll be back talking about that in a little bit. We're very, very excited that somehow or another the words are going to go onto paper. I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, but because she is it's a process. She's always original and always bringing something incredible to any and every subject. So go on her website and we'll do more of that later. But I realized that. And also I wanted to tell you that the poem I read is by a dear friend of mine named Dr. Drew Dellinger, who is the foremost expert on Martin Luther King, a great environmentalist and just a beautiful soul. So check him out too. And that's one of my favorite poems in the world. And it goes on and on. That's just a little bit of it. But so thank you for that about the connection and the collaboration. And as we talked about in nature, you actually said, let's act like nature acts, collaborative and cooperative, and not competitive. And again, thank you so much for that, because I think even talking about that, even in this sort of sacred spiritual community, there is this sort of, we're doing our thing and we mustn't be bothered by that other situation. And so you're really formulating that for us and all you guys out there to realize that it's just so it just kind of makes me relax when I hear that. And it's like, it's just cool because it's like I'm not better than the other people. I'm just going to say it. There's a little bit of that goes on in the spiritual community, so I'm just going to call it out a little bit.
Right. The spiritual arrogance actually creates more separation and creates a greater problem, and less tolerance and less love actually gets exchanged once someone learns the sophisticated spiritual language and yet doesn't really know how to embody it. And that's why I spend most of my time teaching people how to embody the concepts that we've been talking about for so long. So it is all in an attempt to allow heaven and earth to merge, because that is, as we mentioned, that is the point. The point is to bring heaven here, not to wait to go somewhere else, but to embody our highest consciousness. When you're less afraid, you start caring. That's what I find. I have found with so many people and working with them over the years that the reason they have attitude, or they have an edge, or they have a judgment, or they become sarcastic or defensive, the things that they do, it's because they're afraid. That's it. It's just about fear. And the mind experiences fear when it doesn't feel at home, when it doesn't feel the soulful self, when it can't have a safe sense of self. And coming into the body gives us that sense, and grounding with Mother Earth gives us that sense. And so when we put them together, every day is Earth Day. When we do that, we're able to care because we feel safe. And when we feel safe and we care, we make better choices. We make holistic choices where everyone wins.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for that. Something that we're talking a lot about these days, it feels like, as far as even sort of, let's just talk about Earth Day and Mother's Day and birth, sort of birthing something new. And it feels like with so much going on in the world that there's a lot of talk about that. Well, there's all of this, perhaps burning, and we can perhaps be the phoenix rising from the ashes, and in our own lives or our community or our politics, or wherever we're looking. And I was thinking about that because in the last year I feel like many of the guests I've had on this show, we've been talking about sort of what's next, and what's possible, and many people who've accomplished a lot, and it's like still what's next. And even for me, with writing for this magazine, Whole Life Times, that wasn't something that I thought of doing. I just didn't think of it. And I love it so much, and it's just another opportunity. But through your different workshops in the last year and from Cabo, I sort of asked myself, well, what is next? What's a new thing I want to birth that I can just do graciously, but that's going to stretch me a bit. I don't want to be complacent. I don't want to just, hang through life. It's not my way. But what's going to energize me and, just be really cool and like that. So I want to thank you for that, because this is a stretch for me, but I also feel very at home doing it somehow. I don't know how those two go together, but they kind of do. So I'm happy for you to talk about that. I know Dr. Sue can talk about anything. It's so fun to have a guest like you.
To speak into the stretch itself is it's our goal. It's our purpose. It's our soul purpose and our life purpose for the mind to stretch itself. Because the truth of you is that you are the universe. That's really what quantum science is showing us, that we are a cosmic being, not meaning, oh, you're so cosmic and you're so in touch. I don't mean that at all. I mean, you're truly made of the cosmos. If you took all of the energy of all of creation and you start packing it and compressing 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 it, eventually you get physical form. Just pure energy compressed creates physical form. And so the reality of you in physical form is that you are made of all of the energy of creation, packed into an organizing, structuring dynamic that we call the human system. And so when we arrive here as that, we don't have any awareness of the magnitude of that truth. In fact, we kind of land in an ungraceful fashion. We kind of splat, kind of rough landing with the airplane. We kind of splat, and our mind goes one way, our body goes another way, and our breath goes another way, and the spirit is just kind of hanging out, waiting for the sign that it's safe to move in fully. And the problem there is we become identified in that splatted, dispersed state, and we get stuck on the mind. We get attached to the mind because we immediately start looking out to see if we're safe, to see what happened, to see who we're supposed to please and how we're supposed to fit in. And all of these things collectively create the false self or the ego, etc. I call it the protective personality because its main objective is to protect itself because it doesn't feel safe, because it doesn't feel grounded, it doesn't feel connected. And Earth Day is about grounding and connecting. And so what we're wanting to do in response to your question about stretching ourselves is this. We have to stretch ourselves off of the mind and start to identify with the soulful self, with the nature aspect of us, not the mind that's constantly running and looking for a new idea or looking to see if it is safe or not, or to see if it needs to be competitive in any given moment. Not that, but rather to stretch its opportunity to release its driving of the vehicle and allow it to sit into the passenger seat where it can collaborate with the soul, where it can collaborate with nature instead of feeling like it has to drive itself. So every time we stretch ourselves, we come closer to experiencing the greatness of our being, the magnitude of who we really are. When we stretch ourselves, we're stretching the mind, because the truth of us is we are already huge. We are already magnificent. We are already capable of anything that we could imagine, because there is nothing that we are not. We are made of everything that exists. And that's wrap their mind. But when the mind can begin to sense that as a possibility, everything begins to change. So you're not stretching you're stretching your mind. And when your mind stretches to begin to recognize the hugeness of you, then it becomes exhilarated and starts vibrating at a higher frequency, and it becomes bigger. And so we feel like we grow and evolve under those circumstances.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that I love that. Thank you. Oh my God, I want applause after everything you say. But Jarvis, is my engineer and producer here, is whipping up all these amazing pictures while we're chatting, by the way. Thank you so much, Jarvis. I'm seeing them. You're not yet. But so you're talking about the, so we're already huge. Our mind is what we're silly puttying out and out and out. And I'm going to take a moment during this show, which is, I guess, going to be now, to, guys, I'm going to be a bit of a proxy. I have something sort of embarrassing to talk about, and I'm just going to do it. So you're one of the videos I just listened to, and I'm not remembering which one, you were talking about if there's something that comes up for you that's really painful, you can look at it and perhaps get to the real core of it and maybe experience that way for the last time. Okay. So I want us to play with that a little bit. Are you game?
Sure.
Okay. So I am kind of new writing for this magazine. And it, as I mentioned before, it means a lot to me. And I'm going to read a little story that I wrote that went into the magazine, and then I'm going to tell you what the issue is. Okay? Are we ready? And many of you guys know this story. This is the hummingbird story, but I wrote it in my own way. So it starts like this. Deep in the Kalahari Desert of southern Africa, flames were creating great billows of smoke in the sky that were spotted by the springbok and the giraffes. As they ran to the only watering hole for miles, they were greeted by fearful cheetahs and zebras. Filled with worry for their little ones huddling close, they watched as the fire burned the beautiful land as it moved closer. In the sacred baobab tree, the frightened sparrows and starlings paced as they watched along with the leopards, bewildered by the flames leaping high in the African night sky. Soon, the elephants, the reebok, and the black rhinos thundered over to the group as animals growing large of animals growing larger every minute around the watering hole. The baby animals, clinging to their mothers, cried out, "Grandfather Rhino, what's happening?" The drongo birds in the tree cried, "Elder elephants, what are we to do?" The animals were so consumed with worry they did not see the little hummingbird filling her tiny beak with water and flying swiftly to the fire. They were so overwhelmed with panic they didn't see her dropping the water onto the flames, flying back and forth, filling her beak so speedily soar to the blazes. They didn't perceive her little body never tiring and continuing to sprinkle her tiny gift. Finally, the animals looked over and noticed their little flying friend so busily dropping Sonny, can you not read? Finally, the animals looked over and noticed their little flying friend so busily dipping her beak into the water. The wise leopard in the baobab tree asked, "Little hummingbird, with your beak so small and the flame so ferocious, what in heaven are you doing?" The little bird answered, "I'm doing what I can." So, the story about that is, it's one of my favorite stories. And when it was put into the magazine, it was put before my actual article started. So I was really upset because I thought, well, no one's going to know I wrote this. And the editor said, well, it's tied in with art and, it just makes perfect sense. And to me, I was like, it really, really hurt me. It really, not with the editor, but I just had this feeling of just pain. I was just so upset. I was so sad. And every time I thought of it, I would just get this sad feeling. Because I thought, what is this with me? Is it my ego? I want people to know I wrote this. And it's a story that has been told many times. But it was like, yes, but I told it my way. And I want people to know I told it this particular way. So I thought of what you were saying about digging and digging and digging, and I realized what it was for me. And it was even hard for me to read it for you guys, as you could tell, because it usually makes me cry when I read it, because I realized my feeling was the feeling of futility. Like, what does it matter? Even I write this beautiful story, it gets put in, nobody knows I wrote it. It's like, see, what is it? What does any of it matter? Which is the complete point of the story, that, the hummingbird doesn't have the feeling of futility. She just keeps doing because she's doing what she can. And I realize that in my life, I can sometimes feel that way in my own personal life. When I look around, what the hell does any of it matter? Like, what's it all about, Alfie? And so I just thought I would share that with you.
How beautiful. And how beautiful to be vulnerable. Well, I must first say that our vulnerability is our availability. When we are willing to become vulnerable, we come true to the surface of life with our own process of awakening. We're right here where we can do something with it. When we allow ourselves to admit that we felt this way, or to just have this introspective capacity, and then even more importantly, to reveal. What happens is we begin to unfold and unfold and unfold simply by being present with what we are feeling in any situation. So thank you for just being so honest and living out loud. If all of humanity would do that, our world would be in a different place, and Mother Earth would be much happier with us at this time. So thank you so for even posing the possibility for what's coming next. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So go on in, girl.
So futility is an interpretation of energy that limits us. When we think, why should I even try? Because it never goes anywhere, it doesn't make a difference, or why, if after I try and if it doesn't get exposed or expressed or seen or heard or noticed, why should I even do this? What's the point? What are we doing here? What is life all about? And all of those energies are very very reasonable interpretations of the life experience, the human experience. And what I'm offering to people is for them to come inwardly and to recognize deeply internally who they are becoming because they tell their story, who they are becoming because they reveal, regardless of who is out there to listen, regardless of who is out there to hear or to give accolades or to be able to even relate to me or to reach out to me in those moments, regardless of who is out there. If I bring my attention onto the self, instead of being so externally oriented that our culture has trained us to be, but rather coming back onto the self, as I am doing that, I begin to experience life from this perspective. It is about who I am becoming. It isn't about you noticing who I am becoming. It is about what I am revealing. It is not about you noticing what I am revealing. It is about what I am witnessing and experiencing myself to evolve into. That's the life purpose. That's the purpose for coming here. Quantum science is showing us that there's no one out there anyway. There's only one of us here. There is this great mind, and we are individual points of consciousness within the greater mind field, and we are operating inside of this system for purposes of contributing to the evolution of consciousness as a whole. The group consciousness is evolving because of each individual's willingness to stand true for what they stand for, to share the beauty that they can see, to reveal the intimidations that they feel, to allow the intimation of the process that's going on and to accept it unwaveringly, to be present with the self no matter what. Because as we do that, we stabilize humanity's bandwidth of consciousness that we are living in. We're one point of consciousness that's unwobbling, unwavering. And then there's another and another and another. And as we do that, we stabilize the entire bandwidth within which humanity exists. And so as we have a tendency to feel things like, why should I even try? It's futile. Or why go through all this effort if no one's even going to see me or know me? It is helpful to me and has been a helpful tool for many that I have worked with to see this from the perspective of it isn't about them seeing me. In fact, they're not even out there. If I can pull my attention inwardly onto the soulful self, the essential self that I truly am, be present with myself in my own wholeness and feel what I feel, have what I'm having, not deny it or reject it or try to rationalize it away, but just have it. I heal. I heal all kinds of wounds that got set up early on in my life that generated the need to be seen or to be heard or to be met in some way. And when I begin to heal that need, I feel safer. And when I feel safer, I can give even more. Now, Sunny, I can't imagine you giving more. I can't wait to see what the world's going to receive as you start giving more than you already do. But you. As I know that when we have these twinges, these moments of, oh, wait a second, I put my heart and soul into that, and I just want it to be mine. I want people to see that or to know it's a beautiful part of humanity, of our own humanity that we are celebrating in that moment. And if we can take that experience and birth it into something that it is truly intended to be serving, then all the better for our inner world experience, our inner realm, and our own evolution. So, yeah. So what I do in that moment is then teach people how to do that, how to take that and turn it into something else other than a feeling that doesn't feel good.
Whoa. And you do that so beautifully. And another part of this with the futility is not only is it about the being seen and all of that, but it's really also, I realize, a feeling that I have in my life, which is like the hummingbird. It's not just so much about being seen, although that's part of it. It's also about do all of the things I do make a difference? In other words, if I don't drink plastic bottles, or I don't, and so do our hummingbird actions actually matter? And I think that's part of what, really gets me on that's the underlying, deeper aspect of that.
Yes,
Does that make
this
sense?
I know about you personally, is that you are so focused on making the difference, and so very committed and devoted to that, and you do such a beautiful job. And again, I thank you for that. And the idea that we were speaking from regarding the cosmos, and that you are that, and the evolution of that internally within your own system, in your own awakening. What gets served in that moment is that if we say yes, it does make a difference, that this one little thing that I'm doing does make a difference. It helps to change the bandwidth of humanity completely, in that if you decide in the moment of questioning, does it matter? Is this going to be worth it? Is it going to be a big enough wave? How can I, one little person doing this one little thing, make a difference in serving the world? We have to understand that we're all living inside of an energetic frequency. And anything that I do that stabilizes the frequency in just this single place that I'm stewarding, I have to recognize that this bandwidth stretches around the entire planet and is impacting humanity globally. Just when I decide that it does matter, when I decide to save one little plant, or when I decide to pick up one little piece of trash on the beach, what's happening is my vibrational frequency is up leveling, because I was present, I was grounded, I was synchronized with the intention and the inspiration to make a difference. I took action in a manner to do so, no matter how small or how large that action is. If you think about it holographically, it changes the entire grid on the planet. And so it offers up someone on another continent an opportunity to tap a vibrational frequency that might stop them in their tracks and reach down and pick up a piece of trash on a beach thousands of miles away, because we have this butterfly effect in motion every time we take a stand, every time we create a stability where there was a wobble. So.
Oh my God. Oh, okay, everyone. I want you to, I hope everyone will take this show and let everyone else hear it. However many of you guys are out there, just share it with 10 people, please. And let me ask Jarvis, how much time do we have left, Jarvis? Okay, cool. Okay, good. So thank you for that. And I want to make sure also that we let people know that they can tune in. I think it's on my visual, but if you are just listening to this in a podcast, it is, I think it's I'm looking at it right now. It should be drsuemorter.com/Earth Day. And so you can go on that. That's a sort of special link for today. And there are gifts, free gifts. And actually, I think I'll let you take it away. You can say better than I can what you're offering.
Sure. We were just now talking about making a quantum difference in the planet just by one single act that we do. What we do is we change the consciousness for humanity. When you care, it gives someone that you've never met permission to care, which was something that was mind-boggling to me when I started putting those pieces together. And so every single act that we can do that raises our own vibrational frequency inside of this system that we're taking care of, this one, anything and everything that we can do to raise that vibration helps the entire bandwidth of humanity. It's not just an individual that's healing, it's healing for the group. It's as if we were breathing the air for everyone, and if we were cleaning the air for everyone, just with one little cleaning up of some grudge that we were carrying, or some wound that remains, an untouched or untapped kind of cesspool in our own energy system. And so as we work with the gifts that are available here in this program, the one of them is called Body Awake One, and it is a way for you to clear your own subconscious issues that would keep you in a wobble, keep you in the splat that we described earlier, and keep you from being able to be present, from being able to be here, because the subconscious is still hooked into something from the past, keeps you from the present, and keeps you feeling less safe. And when we don't feel safe, we don't make as group conscious oriented and abundant choices as we could. So it teaches you how to find what your blockages are, and then it teaches you how to clear them, which is an amazing gift. It comes from 40 years of research from my father in energy medicine, and then 30 years of my own work, and bringing that to you in the form of you being able to tap your own subconscious and access what is really working in your favor, and what are you still holding on to that you don't even realize that is working against you. And then there is another DVD that kind of talks about this big picture, expansive idea that we're speaking about in there, and gives you some homework assignments to think about, just to kind of unpack it for yourself personally. And there is also an amazing meditation that is the AM and the PM meditation. That is something that I recorded right after a very life-changing experience that I had in an illuminating meditation that set me free, truly liberated me from the confines of the mental body and the mind. And there is a passionate purpose, your life purpose, description in this package as well for you, and just lots of gifts that are designed to help you better yourself by becoming aware of your greatness that is within. Yeah. So,
and what I'll say about that too, guys, is that it's actually all super fun. Like, some things I've done in my life are not so much fun, or can be scary, or can just be, I don't know, feel like I'm going through the muck and mire. And somehow or another, what I so appreciate what you do, Dr. Sue, is that you sort of skip over a lot of the stuff, which I just love. It's like, okay, can we just have health? Like, can we just have peace? Can we just have, like, everything we've been talking about today? I feel like, guys, if we can embody these things that we've been talking about, or mainly Dr. Sue's been talking about, I mean, how incredible to take that into our heart, our family, our community, just in the small place where we are, our schools or wherever we are, and really feel through those things, and what a difference that can make, and will make. And it is doable. It can happen easily with not a lot of effort, I find. And all the people that are at your workshops and all of that are jumping around are so joyous and having so much fun and that kind of thing. And it's not, woo-woo, like people following you, like like how that can be. It's just genuine, real, funsters are everywhere. Funsters abound.
yeah.
Which is so important, because I think that's part of the thing that we've forgotten. People talk about being that of a little child and all of that. And it's like, yeah, come on, people. Like, let's dance and sing and play and, eat great food and laugh with each other and know that we all have our story and it all doesn't matter and all that stuff. Like, let's just raise above it, which you do so amazingly.
It's supposed to be fun, It's supposed to be joyous and celebratory. It's supposed to be that way. Yeah. And if we're not having a good time, we're misinterpreting how life is supposed to go. We've misinterpreted who we are. We've misinterpreted our power, and we think that it's more difficult than it is. And then we get busy trying to make it work instead of recognizing that entire approach is just not what is intended to be. We are truly here to be one with the powers of the cosmos, the heavens, the earth. All of it is one world. It's one reality. And as we begin to allow ourselves and discover how to allow ourselves to be a part of that instead of apart from it, becomes much less of a challenge and a much greater opportunity to express and expand humanity and humanity's consciousness on the planet, and rather than just trying to learn how to survive or get by. It creates an entirely different life experience once we start to recognize and embody, integrate this into ourselves in such a fashion. So.
Well, and another thing I want to tell people, this is just kind of the craziest thing, but whenever I do workshops or any, kind of extended, if it's even one day, for quite a while after that, the most strange thing will happen, and I'll put on clothes and I'm thinking, oh my God, these jeans are so comfy. These shoes are so comfy. This shirt is so comfy. And then all of a sudden I realize, no, it's my body. My body is so comfy. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know if I've ever told you that. No, and I'm sure many people have, but it's just really cool. And I've noticed myself kind of jumping in and out of cars easily and just moving around like a little kid. And it's really cool.
That's what happens when we get in the body. When we come into the body, instead of living in our heads and analyzing and predicting and separating. You see, you have to remember that the mind, its job is to separate things, to make distinctions, to compare this to that and this to that. And the better we get at that, the more rewarded we get, unfortunately. And it's the heart and the deep core wisdom that brings us into the connectivity and the union. The heart is unifying, and the deep wisdom center is the earth mother of you. So if you come into your body and not just live in your head, you start to experience a different version of life. You were getting in and out of your car the day before that workshop, and it didn't feel the same as the day after. And the reason is because you came into your body even more. And this is what happens for all of us. We get busy, we get distracted, and until we really work with this and anchor and build the circuitry to stay on the self and stay in the body, it can be so dramatically transformative to just have a brief experience with what it actually feels like to be here, to actually really be in the present, in the body, grounded and integrated and living the life that we're intended to be living. It's quite heavenly.
It is, and I love it so much, and I love that you mentioned about earthing, because I do that too as much as I can, and I think it's a super important thing, guys, just to do that. You just walk in the earth or on the earth, sand, any kind of natural stuff with no shoes on for 15 minutes, I've heard, and it actually can shift a lot of things, so let's do that. And I want to make sure now that we're coming to the end that we get everything in, and I do want to let people know you may want to read this article and other things in Whole Life Times, and you can go to wholelifetimes.com and sign up for the newsletter. And you can actually get the magazine online now, so it's all digitally put on, so you can catch it that way and dig it that way. And then I want to make sure that we've also mentioned, I don't know if you have room in your upcoming things. I know you're going to Ireland. I know you're going different places. So if it's possible to people, just get on your website and, follow Sue on all of her things like Instagram and all that stuff, guys, because she puts really cool stuff out. But are there, just quickly, I think we have like 3 minutes or 2, anything specific you want people to get at?
There's an entire body of coursework that someone can learn how to live from the deep core soulful self and not be pulled up into their heads. There is also an entire series of Journey Awakes, which you just mentioned, where we go to sacred sites all over the planet, bathing in the energies that are being emitted from the planet at these sacred sites. That's the reason the sites are sacred. It's because of the Earth's energy that is at these places. And then the temples were built on top of those spacious, gracious and spacious revealings of the energies within the earth. And so we go and take journeys where we have meditations and yoga practices and deep breathwork techniques and all kinds of teachings about consciousness and what's really happening, how to master your life experience. And so those are the Journey Awakes. We go to India and we go to Egypt and we're going to Easter Island this fall. We're going to Ireland in June and then Easter Island this fall. And we'll be doing a sacred journey to Greece and working with all kinds of of different energies in these different locations. And I also do healing retreats where people come, where they receive physical treatment, all with bioenergetics, working with the body's natural energy flow and redirecting that energy flow. Work that it's the only healthcare I've ever had, actually. I've never gone to the doctor and gotten an antibiotic for some ailment. I've always only ever been in natural healthcare. So I pass those treatments on to other people as well.
So guys, check everything out. And my Jarvis is saying that we actually have to go. But Dr. Sue, I want to thank you so much for being here. And I was listening to this country western song the other day, and this country western song was all about, oh God, you know, there's this and that going on in the world, and there are children who are not able to eat, and all of the animals are dying, and the coral reefs and all of that stuff. God, why are you not doing anything? And then God said, I created you. So I feel like that about you, because I think you bring so much to so many people all the time, and you just so rock. I just love you to pieces. So thank you so much for being on the show.
My greatest joy to play with you.
Thank you. So till next time, guys, just remember, you do make a difference, and just be the hummingbird. Bye.